Hi, I am Michelle Peters. I am the founder and teacher of Mrs. Peters Math. On Friday, I did a live Q&A and I promised to record that and post it here, so if anyone else wanted to join but wasn't able to, they'd be able to catch the recording. Now, I did record it, but the recorder I used had a default setting for a microphone, and I forgot to change it to the one I needed, and so there was no sound on that recording. So what I'm doing now is I'm just going to redo that. It just isn't live. I'm going to try and give all the same information and answer the same questions that were asked, and provide this information to you. If after watching this recording you still have questions, you are welcome to email me at mrspeters@mrspetersmath.com or go to my website for more information, mrspetersmath.com. All of those information, all of that will be, sorry, I have glare in my glasses and I know it, and I'm trying to see if I can fix that for you. All that information will be in the description below, so if you weren't able to write that down, that'll be in the description. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I have been teaching for over 20 years. I got my start in the public schools. I taught mainly middle school and high school math. I have taught an after-school program for literacy and math, as well as a college course. I've done a little bit of just everything. I've even worked in a preschool. And so I have taught pretty much all ages, including adult GED. But my main focus and the majority of my experience is with grades 6 through 12 public school. Now, what happened is when we started homeschooling, we I then quit my public school job a year later, and I began teaching with our local homeschool co-op, which I've been doing for several years now. And with that, that was a very positive experience, and I liked it so much more than the public school teaching. But in general, I just love teaching, so I mean, I enjoyed my time in the public schools as well. And then when COVID hit, that's when I decided to, and my kid is getting ready to graduate and everything, and I decided I would like to keep teaching. I'd like to teach full time, which is more than usually the co-ops can afford to allow time for. Usually they don't need quite that many classes that would keep an individual teacher busy for 40 hours a week. I wanted to work full time. I also wanted to stay in the homeschool community. And so I devised Mrs. Peters Math as a way for my work to continue and stay in the homeschool community, which I preferred. So that's how Mrs. Peters Math was born. And so I'm young in my business, but I do have a lot of experience. And I also have experience with curriculum writing, as well as I've done that during some of my summers. And so with Mrs. Peters Math, one of the questions that comes up is, what curriculum do you use? Well, I am mostly creating all of my own materials based on my experience from the public school, the homeschool, and my curriculum writing and all of that put together. I'm devising my own. And as far as another question that gets asked is, what standards do you follow, or do you follow Common Core and that kind of thing? I don't adhere to a specific set. However, I will say my bias is that I'm in Indiana, and so I tend to know how we do things in Indiana. But I don't strictly follow those. What I do instead is I try to cover what's typically covered in a set grade, like 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. I typically follow what would normally be taught in those grades, and I know that different curriculums are not all the same. And so let me take you to my website. I'd like to do that now. Okay, so what you're seeing here is my website, and this is mrspetersmath.com. And here you see the link for the Q&A, which is over now. But if you go right here to scope and sequence, you'll get a drop down, and you can just click scope and sequence and then look for what you want. But here are the classes I have taught or am teaching. Currently, I am doing grade 6 and up. So even though I have grade 5 on here, that is not applicable right now. And the reason why for that is that I've not found interest in grade 5, and I've been able to keep pretty busy offering the higher courses. And so um, you'll see that on there, but I don't currently offer grade 5. So if you just pick one, I'm going to go with pre-algebra. What you'll see here is the categories or chapters that I have, and then the topics under each one. And so you can see exactly what I'm going to teach in a pre-algebra course. And so hopefully that will give you an idea of what to expect. So that is on here. And so you can see, here's what I teach in grade 6, here's what I teach in grade 7, here's pre-algebra, algebra 1, algebra 2, geometry, and algebra 1 and 2, a 3-year course. This course is unique. Let me explain what that is. Let me just click on it here. Algebra 1 and 2, a 3-year course, is different in algebra 1 and algebra 2 in that it's just slower paced. So this course goes slower. So algebra 1 is typically a year course, and algebra 2 is typically a 2-year course. What I do is I teach this over a 3-year period. And so if your child were to sign up for this, we would the first year start with algebra 1, but we would not finish it because we're going at a slower pace. It would be approximately a year and a half to get through algebra 1, and then the rest of year 2 and year 3 to get through algebra 2. And the purpose of that is just to help those students who do need something a bit slower paced, or maybe those students who struggle more than others. This would be a good fit for them. And so if you are a parent who's like, I'm not sure whether they're ready for algebra 1, this might be a better option. I don't know that it would be a good option for your student because I don't know your individual circumstances at this point, but this would be a slower paced course. And so if you are not familiar with high school yet, high school courses can get fast paced for those who have a hard time, and they do cover a lot of material, and they are much harder than other math. And so if you're used to say 6th grade and they did really well, this might be algebra 1. Once you get into high school, it could be a little bit different. You find that there's a lot more work, it takes a lot more time, the concepts become more difficult. And what I also find is that it's very important that students have a mastery of prerequisite skills to be successful. What I find the most that students struggle in high school, the reason why is because they haven't really mastered those prerequisite skills. And so when you say, they just don't have a good understanding of decimals, maybe they even got the homework done, but if they did not retain it, if they did not really get a good grasp of it, we don't review that in high school. It's just an assumed skill. And so students who don't have a good mastery of prerequisite skills tend to struggle the most. And it's not always because the math is so much harder. It's because they can't do the math that came first to build up to what we're currently working on. All right, I'm going to go back to the home page here. On my website, you can find a lot of information. So I'd encourage you to look here. If you look down here at the FAQ, you will find a lot of information. What I offer, what class should I enroll in, do you use Common Core, what do I need to buy, lots of stuff. How much is the class, how do I log in, is this a faith-based class, what curriculum do you use, cancellation policy, all of that. You can find lots of information under FAQ. Let's go back to the home page. Also under class times and schedule, if you click here, just scroll down a bit. This takes you links to the individual classes, but if you just scroll down a bit, you'll see right here are the class schedules for this coming school year. Now, this is not in stone for every year. For example, next year, the Algebra 1 and 2, a 3-year course, might be at a different time. Specifically, this is for year 1 of the course. So if you sign up this year, you're going into the very beginning of it. Next year, I plan to add year 2 and keep year 1. And then the following year, add year 3 and keep year 1 and 2, so that wherever they are in the sequence, they should be able to sign up. And then, of course, I'm going to have to adjust the schedule to allow for year 2 and year 3 to be on the schedule. Pre-algebra is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 2:50 to 3:50 p.m. These times are Eastern, and they do meet all 3 hours. Each class is a 3-hour class to allow plenty of time for thorough instruction and for students to ask questions. And so all of these times are part of the course. It's not choosing a Monday class or a Wednesday class or a Friday class. They come at all 3 hours. You'll notice grades 6 and 7 are a little bit weird. It's Tuesday, Thursday, 10:30, and Monday at 11:10. And grade 7 is Tuesday, Thursday at 1 o'clock and at 12:10. I had to adjust it that way to be able to fit all the classes in. I fit in as many as I could Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then I had to have some Tuesday, Thursday classes, and I did not want to make grade 6 and 7 an hour and a half class. That would be a bit cumbersome for that age, and so that's how I did that. Geometry is the one course that is an hour and a half on 2 days versus 1 hour for 3 days. And if you scroll a little more, you will see the actual calendar. Green days we meet, red days are off, and yellow are makeup days. So this last week is reserved for makeup. You'll find that in some courses, especially the higher level, we do need all of the days to meet to cover all of the material. And so I do allow a makeup week. It seems like every year I'm sick at least one day. Unfortunately, I've had to attend a funeral every year. So things come up that I can't plan for. And so I have some makeup days here built in for that. There was a mistake, and I'm going to fix this. This was pointed out to me during the live Q&A. Right here, this first week of April is unmarked. It should be red. This is spring break. And so I'm going to fill that back in and get that re-uploaded, but this should be red. And you'll notice there's 2 partial weeks in March. So we basically have 2 weeks off, but March is staggered, and the reason for that is I plan my springtime off around homeschool conventions so that I can go and be present with the homeschool community and represent Mrs. Peters Math. And so the days off are reflecting that. And this date right here, the March 20th and 29th, actually is subject to change because I'm still waiting on confirmation for the dates of that particular convention. So it's possible it may get moved up or even into April or something, but the March 20th time is definite, and this first week of April is definite. We will have those times off. Now, what happens if you have to miss a day that we're in green? So let's talk about that. So my classes are live and online, but I do record them. So if the student is absent for any reason, they are able to watch the recording and catch up later. Further, I do, whenever I assign something, the students are given 2 weeks to complete it. Now, ideally, they're not procrastinating, and I have found that students who procrastinate do have the hardest time with the classes. The students who do the work daily are the ones who are most successful. But I allow 2 weeks for 2 reasons. One, I have deadlines and due dates for accountability. Students at this age need that. I can't be on chapter 5 and they're on chapter 1 because that just compounds that math confusion. Because I found that students, when allowed to procrastinate, will as long as possible. And so obviously that's not true for everyone, but it is very common, especially at the teenage age. And I've taught for long enough to tell you that if it's not true for your student, it is true for many, many others. So the 2 weeks is there to hold them accountable, but also I don't make them do right away because I know that you will need some flexibility, either for illness, your internet goes out, maybe you take a 1 week family vacation. So even if you're taking 1 week off for whatever reason, there's still a whole week to catch back up. And so that is why I've chosen 2 weeks. It gives you time to have the time off and time to get caught back up. So I do hold to those due dates. So students who do not complete the work on time do not get credit for that. So that is important for you to know. In an extreme case, let's say your child was hospitalized for a month or something. Of course, we can make exceptions, and that would be on a case-by-case basis where the parent contacts me, okay? Not a student contacting me. So another thing to keep in mind with students contacting me, I want you to know that many times parents with students this age ask their children to start to learn independence, and they want them to do the course, and some parents are kind of hands off, and that's okay. I do ask parents to do a couple things though. I want parents to know whether their child is attending. I do not keep attendance, and I don't email parents and tell them when the child is not live. I assume that you know what's going on in your household, and I trust you to handle that and know your child's sick. You don't necessarily even have to email me that your child's going to be sick. It's helpful, but you don't have to. Um, you know if your child's absent, and you can help them hold them accountable to watch the recording in a timely manner. And I would say as timely as possible, because if they only miss, say, one class for whatever reason, maybe they have a doctor's appointment, if they don't watch it before the next class could be confusing because we're always building, right? So if we're doing like one-step equations today and two-step equations next time, the two-step equations could be a little cumbersome if they didn't get the lesson on one-step equations. So I encourage you to have them do that. Also, you will always have access to your child's portal in Canvas, which is what I use, and I'll show you that in a moment. But I ask you to periodically check their grades and know, are they turning work in, and what kind of grades are they earning? I don't want it to be the end of the year and you're surprised by something. And so, again, I don't message you. Every parent has a different threshold of what they expect from their child. Some parents, want perfection, all A's, or some parents are just thrilled if their kid gets a C or even a D, or whatever it is. And so you have different expectations for different children. And so I just ask that you periodically check in and know what your child's doing. Please don't give them the independence, but don't put that off so much that you don't know. Because I have had parents surprised that their child has not done work or was scoring low, because that's not what their child was telling them. And so I just ask that you periodically check in and know what's going on. Like I said, I don't message you about that. I let you check for yourself. But if you do have concerns and want to ask about it, by all means, I am available and we can chat as much as you want about that. I just ask you to initiate that conversation with me. Okay? All right, let me show you Canvas and what to expect here. So this was my website. Let's go to Canvas. All right, so this is my page, but let's go to a particular class. I'm going to go to pre-algebra. This was the course, one of the courses I taught this past year. Okay, so I put this in student view. This is what it looks like when a student logs on. Okay, over on the left, if you click dashboard, that shows all the courses that students log is in. It says access denied because I'm the teacher and I don't have any student courses, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to go back to where I was. Over here, you have a calendar. You can see due dates and such. The inbox is like almost like an email system that's built in where the students can message me. And I do ask that students use that for messaging me. I ask parents to email me. It helps me keep track of my messages, and since I do get many messages a day, I do ask that students use this and parents use email. All right, so once you're in Canvas, so this is called Canvas, and once you enroll, when we get about closer to the class, I'll say, I don't know, a date. So classes actually start August 21st, so I'll tell you that. So about 2 weeks before, say around August 7th, that's when I'm going to start emailing you all the information for how to get your Canvas account and how to get logged into the class itself. Once you're in Canvas, you will see some various links down here. One will be a help link that will take you to all kinds of things you may need help with. So please read through that and be familiar with it, because a lot of your questions are going to be asked here, like where's the textbook and how do I find the recording of the class and different things. You can find that right here. I always have the 2 most recent weeks linked right here. However, let me just show you. If you click it, this says week 33, May 8th. It'll take you right to that. But notice you can scroll up and you can see other days and such. But if I go back to the home page, if you're here, you can also click modules. Modules takes you to that list you were just at. It just always starts at the beginning. So it always starts with the first week of class. All right, so that's the difference. So modules will also take you, and you can find any day you want. And you have access to the entire year, all year long. Well, all the days we've had. So like, at the beginning of the course, you don't have access to May. You only have access to what we've learned so far. There is a link right here for assignments. You can go directly to an assignment, but I'm going to show you what a specific page looks like. So I'm going to scroll to, let's go to October 31st is what I'm going to go to first. So on October 31st, this is the lesson page for that day, and I have a lesson page for each day. All right, and here's what you can expect. At the top, here is the recording for that day. Now, when you first go to this page, this won't be here because we wouldn't have had class yet, and so there is no recording, okay? There are two recordings, actually. Let me go to the homepage and show you. And you don't have to remember all this now. I just want you to know what to expect, okay? So if I go to, oops, that's not what I meant to click on, sorry. If I go to the homepage, right here, join today's live class. Oh, I have to leave student view for you to be able to see it. The students can see it, but in my teacher account, I can't see it in student view. Okay, so here's what it is. Under new conferences, these are the conferences that are coming up. Conferences are classes. Canvas calls them conferences because this can also be used for meetings or business or whatever. So right here, they'll tell the class, and over here, there'll be a button that says join, so you can join the class live when it's ready. The concluded conferences are classes that have ended, and those are right here. And there's a whole list of them. You can see we had classes all year long. And then if it's within 1 week of the course, you can click the title. This is more than a week old, so I can't click it. But when you click it, another line, a small line like this comes up right here, and it'll say presentation. You can click that, and a window will pop up with the class video for that day. So Canvas automatically records the classes, and those are available for 1 week, okay? Now, you can get to that also over here. If you click big blue button, that's how else you get to here. So if I am in here, I'm going to put this back in student view. If I click join today's live class, it takes me to the same place as big blue button. And of course, access denied. I have to leave student view. But big blue button takes you to the exact same spot. And that's how you get to both the live classes, which are here, and the recorded classes, which are here. Now, if I go to a particular class, I thought I was already on a class. Okay. I'm going to go to modules, and I'm going to go to October 31st. That's where I was. Right here. All right, so once the class is over, what I do is I also screen record my whole computer so that I can upload it to YouTube, and then you have access to the recording all year long. Okay, so people who pay for a course that's a year-long course, you have access all year long. And the reason for that is in case you're absent, you have access to the recording. Let's just say you were in class, but you forget what the directions are for the homework. You can fast forward to the end of class where I demonstrate the homework, and you can find that. Or maybe you tell the child tells the parent something, and mom's like, the teacher said that. You can go back to the recording, and you can see exactly what I've said. If they're reviewing for a test, they can go back to any class that they might want to rewatch for whatever reason. So the recordings are here. Next, after the class recording, you will see notes. There are notes that go with each class. As I said, I'm creating my own curriculum. So you don't have a textbook per se. And so the notes include both reference material like formulas and whatever the child may need, as well as problems that we practice together in class. And so you'll want to print those. What I ask you to do is 3-hole punch them and keep them in a binder in an organized fashion so that the students can easily refer to them. Now, of course, that can be the student's responsibility, but that is the best thing to do with these to be successful in the course. After that, you'll see a homework link. Now, I'm going to show you what some of the homework looks like, so we'll come back to that. Spiral review. Spiral review, the way I do that is I feel that when we learn a lesson, you must practice that lesson. And so this assignment is specific to what we're learning this day. On Mondays, there's an additional assignment for spiral review, and that can be on anything we've done so far in the school year. And so on Mondays, there is a link for that. Now, if you feel that 2 things in one day is too much, these don't have to be done the same day. Remember, every assignment you're given 2 weeks. And so these don't have to be done the same day. You could do this one on Monday when it's assigned and this one on Tuesday. but you have 2 weeks, so you don't even have to do them those particular days. It's up to you guys how you want to do that. By the way, another reason for the 2 week deadline is because I want students to be able to ask for help. And so let's say it's Monday, I assign this, and they try it on Tuesday, or what? No, let's not say that. Let's say I assign it Monday and they don't even try it till Thursday because they had a bunch of other things to do. So they haven't even tried it till Thursday and they realize, I don't know, I need help. They can still ask on Friday in class for help or message me for help. And so that 2 weeks also gives them enough time to ask me, the teacher, for help on this assignment. Fraction manipulatives, sometimes when it's appropriate, I do provide virtual manipulatives that will aid in the lesson. In this case, we did fraction bars for this lesson, and I demonstrated how to use them, and they're available to the students to use. If you have physical hands-on manipulatives, by all means, you're welcome to use them or purchase them if you wish to. I do not require that. Since this is a virtual class, I do provide virtual manipulatives and demonstrate how to use them. I also provide additional videos, usually via YouTube, though also other outlets, but mostly YouTube. These are quick short videos that go over various things I've done in the class. They are not by me. They're usually other teachers or other people. And so it gives them additional examples, a different teacher to listen to. So it just gives them more avenues to learn. Or if you as the parent just need a quick refresher so you can help your child, you can go right here as well. Now, now these are supplemental. Once we get past the assignments, everything down here is supplemental. I try to provide each lesson with plenty of supplemental items so that you as the parent do not have to go searching for that yourself, and you have plenty of resources that by paying for the class, that's something that I provide. So I've done the footwork for you to find these so that you have access to them easily. Another thing is I try to provide fun ways for the students to practice and be engaged in the math so that they are, especially if there's someone who really does not like math or is not good at it for whatever reason, this gives them a better incentive. So there's always a game, at least try to find at least one game or activity or extra practice. Now the extra practice tends to be the more, I'll say, boring practice, the practice that might be a worksheet or maybe, just something online where they enter their answers and they're told if they're right or wrong. And then it also says, see your textbook for additional examples and practice, and I tell them where to find that. Now, I told you I don't teach from a textbook. However, I do provide each class with some type of online free reference textbook so that you do have something to refer to should you need or want it. And especially in this pre-algebra course, the one that I offer does have a lot of practice, and I actually do very much like this particular textbook. Not all textbooks are great, but I do like this one. And so if you do just want to practice before a test, this book has tons of practice problems and the answers to the odds in the back for you to find easily. All right, let me show you a different day. So this was 10/31. I'm going to click back on modules. I'm going to go to November 28th, so that was around Thanksgiving time, right here. All right, so here's a different day. I just want to give you an idea of that not all days are the same in what I provide. So we've got the class recording, we've got the notes. This was a Monday because there's spiral review on there. This time, notice I've got 4 videos instead of 3. The number of videos varies based on the topic and what the videos are like. Sometimes, especially if we do story problems, a lot of the videos only do one story problem, so I try to provide several, so there's different kinds of story problems available. If in this case we did multiplying and dividing decimals, but we also did the shortcuts for multiplying by 10, 100, 1,000. So you'll see here's multiplying decimals, here's dividing decimals. This one's specifically for multiplying by 10, 100, 1,000. This one's specifically dividing by 10, 100, 1,000. So maybe you don't need to watch all 4 of them. Maybe you just need to focus on one particular one. Notice on this day, I have a lot of different games. So again, some of them, like this one's powers of 10. So that's the multiplying and dividing by 10, 100, 1,000. So it doesn't practice like 3.2 times 4.7. That would be up here. This one has adding, subtracting, and multiplying. So it covers things we've already done as well as multiplying. This one again is just multiplying. This one's division. This one's division of decimals by whole numbers. So that might be like 4.75 divided by 3 or something like that. This one has a mix of operations. So there's not only different skills, but I also, when possible, try to provide um, different games, so that, if they don't like this game right here, maybe they go down to this one and try this other game. Maybe they'll like it better. In this case, I also have 3 activities. Activities aren't games, but they're also meant to be a little more fun than your traditional practice. And then this extra practice, again, that tends to be, just very straightforward practice. So you've got lots of options. None of this is required. None of it is graded. The students don't even have to report to me whether they've done it. This is just supplemental items that I have provided so that you have plenty of ways to practice or learn the material, and without having to seek that out yourself. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff on there. All right. Let me think what else I wanted to offer. Oh, let me go through what the activities and things are like. So I do a lot of different kinds of activities for homework. The homework is meant to be practice and learning. Now it is graded, but let's just take a look here. This is called Crazy Creatures, and this is a template, so you don't actually see any math problems here. But the problems would be here, and this might say like question 1, okay? So there'll be some kind of problem here. And the students put their answers over here. Now, this over here is meant to be the fun aspect of it. So first of all, they enter their answer. This is a template, so the answers go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just like that, okay? If it's right, it turns green. If it's wrong, it turns red. And so that gives them feedback right away to know if they're on the right track. And again, since this is a learning/practice effort, if they get it wrong, I want them to know that, and I want them to be able to know they need to fix it. And so my idea here is I'm trying to prompt self-correction. So I want them to know when they turn this in, they know if they're going to get a -1, a -2, a -3, a -4, or whatever. They know when they turn it in if they're at 100% or not. And so if they don't get 100%, that really is on them, because there are so many ways they can get help. They can watch those YouTube videos. They can refer back to their notes. If they want, they can ask their parents. If they want, they can ask me. They can message me privately. They can ask me in class. They do not have to ask the day I teach it. They don't have to ask it the very next day. They have that whole 2 weeks to get it done. And so anytime during that 2 weeks, they can ask. Now, they can ask after the 2 weeks, but at that point, they would be turning in late, and they're not going to be getting credit for that. But they can still learn the material. So, in addition to knowing if they get it right or not, so, oops, let's fix that. I don't know what happened to just now, so I'm going to do my undo, because this shouldn't have went away. So I'm going to fix this. Okay, now, here we go. So I always show the students too, if something weird happens that shouldn't, you make use of this undo button and fix it. And worst case scenario, they can make a new copy of the assignment if they need to. This is through Google, and so a Google account is required to take my class. That is free and easy, and I will give you all the information you need for that. Okay, so I have all the answers right. Once they have the answers right, they can come over here and they can make their crazy creatures. Remember, this is called Crazy Creatures. And so they can play with this over here. They can change the background color. They can create their creature. So right now it's defaulted on the snowman, but they can do a Yeti head. They could do a penguin body and a snowboarder, so that would be human, a snowboarder legs. So they can mix and match this. They can make it silly or crazy or whatever they want. And if they want to play with it and see what it looks like to just make a whole Yeti, they could do that. Then they could change the color from blue to like turquoise or white, make it very snowy or pink, or, they can play with it and do whatever they want here. So the idea is it creates an element of fun as well. And I find that, some kids may not want to do this, but I find even high schoolers enjoy having a little break and doing something fun and silly as well. But I don't grade this. I don't grade their creativity. This is just meant to be the fun aspect. But if they want to do this, they are prompted. They got to go back and fix the ones that are red. And they can still ask for help as needed. All right. All right, so that's one type of homework. All right, here's another one. This is called a pixel art. Now, I do use a lot of these. On these Google activities, if you can't see it all, right here is a zoom. You can go down as small as 50%. But if you can't read the directions or the questions, you can make it as big as you need to. I guess it only goes up to 200%. So maybe not as big as you may want, but you can go pretty big. So what happens, again, this is a template, so you're not seeing any math problems. But the directions would be here, the questions would be over here, and they would enter their answers. And so what happens, this one doesn't turn red and green, but what it does is if you get it wrong, it just stays white and nothing happens. And so that's how they'll know on this assignment that it's wrong. Now, how are they going to remember? Okay, the other one turned red and green, this one doesn't. Every time I give an assignment, the directions are there. So I tell them, and I demonstrate in class. I show them this every day. And so if there's any question, they can refer to the class video. They can actually read the directions for the assignment. They don't have to guess what's going to happen. And if for some reason I make a mistake and I do neglect to tell them, all they got to do is ask me, and I'd be happy to tell them. So if on this assignment, white means it's wrong, and if they get it right, it turns one of the colors of the picture. And you see you get pixels. So you get little squares of color as they get it right. And so as they fill this in, it creates the picture. And in order to see the whole picture, they do have to get the entire thing correct. Missing a few will make it a little grainy or pixelated because it will be incomplete. So you can see I'm getting them all right so far because they're not white, and it creates the picture. And I find that many students enjoy this, even the high schoolers. And so you can see what happens. And so let me just skip one. And so we're going to get that one wrong. Okay. And so this is 10. No, this is 11. 13. Let's get this one wrong also. So this will be 15 and 16 and 17 and 18. All right, so you can see the picture is almost complete, and they can pretty much see it, but it is incomplete because you can see right here part of the flag is missing, part of his nose is missing. This looks grainy, you know, pixelated down here. So if we go back and fix them, more of it will fill in. And now you can see the full picture, and this guy's name is Fred. He's a gnome that comes up in some of our pictures, and he's celebrating patriotism, and the July 4th is what this is. Okay, let's go to another example. This is I build a picture. Now on this one, the students don't know if their answer is correct or not until they turn it in. However, they are given multiple choice, so it does narrow down the choices quite a bit. There are 2 slides you can see over here, so they have to click the different ones. They're going to make 2 silly faces. And what they'll do is I'm just going to pick choice 1 for everything. I'm not going to read through the problems, but this was actually an activity that we did last week in the integers free class that I offered. They drag over the picture for their choice. So this, if they pick 16, they can resize it. So they can have fun with this. Like I said, I don't grade the creativity. I'll know if the answer is right because of whether they picked purple, orange, or blue. That's how I'll know. They can rotate it. It doesn't, they can, whatever they want, resize, rotate. They can give it some eyes. They can put the eyes up here. They could resize them if they want, or they can put them down here. That's up to them how they do it. Give them a mouth. Maybe I don't resize the mouth. And then some feet. And then I'm going to make them a little bigger. I'm going to rotate this. Oops. I'm going to rotate this. There we go. The plus sign has to be on this, and it was kind of covered up with the over here. So I'm going to make this one a little bigger. So I'm going to move this foot over. I don't know. They can just play with it, do it however they want. So that's the idea is, so every time they answer a question, they're able to go over here and have some fun. So especially for those students who need that mental break, instead of just concentrating on math, this gives them kind of a break. Now, I don't have a lot of these, and so we don't do this terribly often, but this is one other activity I have. Another one that I have, this is a maze. Again, we can zoom in and out. Where's my zoom? There we go. I don't know why the zoom wasn't working, and I don't know why that just turned red, but nonetheless, let me show you how that, there we go. Okay, I accidentally added a space there, and so it looked like I was typing in an answer that was wrong. So this one does also turn red and green if the answers are right or wrong. And again, you can zoom it so you can see all of it at once. Students are going to start where it says start and finish over here. And because it is a maze, what happens is as the students get a correct answer, it guides them through the maze. So let me just show you. When you multiply or divide two positive integers, the answer will be, and let's say you say negative, that's wrong, so it's going to turn red, and you really don't get through the maze. When you hit enter, it automatically just moves down, and so you're stuck. You got to fix this. So the answer is positive, and so it turns green, and it shows you the next problem to do. You're not going to do all the problems. You're just going to do the ones that take you through the maze, and here spelling will count. So if they spell it wrong, let's say they positive, you know, like you have a dog, it's going to count it wrong, but the correct spelling is right here. And so it also, even though this isn't a spelling class, it does encourage the correct spelling, but there's never a point at which the spelling counts against them and they don't have an option for that, because this is a math class, but right here is how to spell it. And so I'm not trying to trick them. I'm not trying to force them to memorize how to spell things. I'm just trying to encourage them to use their resources right here. And so here, as you go through, this is the next one you're going to do. So that was wrong. So we'll enter positive. And so we're going to go down. And so this next one, they might take you to this one, or they might take you down. Okay. I'm just going to click undo, so this is ready next time I use it. All right, another resource that I use is called Boom Learning. And these are called boom cards. And so in boom cards, they're not all the same. There's different ways of doing them, but here's a directions page. And then what it does is it lets them know if the answers are right or wrong. And so that's one thing I really like about it. So let's say we say this is 3, 4, and 81, and then we click submit. So that means something's not right, but it's even showing you which parts are wrong. All right, so if we correct this, this is 81, and this is 4. Now we have it right, and it goes to the next problem. And so it does, again, let you know. Now let's say you try this one. I'm just gonna mess this up a whole bunch. And let's say, okay, so we try 3, and that doesn't work, and so we try 4. And let's say they just can't figure it out. They can give up, and it will go on to the next one. So you're not completely stuck, but it will definitely count it wrong. And so, and it shows you what it should be. And so they can move on. So let me show you, if we skip ahead, there's other kinds of problems in this same deck of cards. Just to show you, I picked this deck so you could see a variety of kinds of questions. This one is focused on learning the vocabulary. So the logarithm is the what to which a what is raised. So if I say the logarithm is the quotient to which a product is raised, it's going to show me that both words were incorrect. So if I say the logarithm is the exponent to which a base is raised, then I know I've got them both right. I can move on. So we work on vocabulary here. And this is practice and homework. Students can use their notes to help them figure this out. This is not stuff that has to be memorized before they work on it. All right, now the hidden cards, they don't see those. That's on me. The reason they're hidden is when I did make this assignment, I gave them the cards that were appropriate to what we had taught that particular day. And I also sometimes hide cards to make the homework an appropriate length of work or an appropriate number of problems. So hidden cards, the students don't even know that I've hidden them. You're only seeing them because I'm in a teacher view right now and I'm trying to demonstrate. But hidden cards are either to reduce the number of questions to make it manageable, or because I've taken out cards that the problems might be a little harder than what we practiced, and maybe those cards will come up in the next lesson. All right, so this one you can see is multiple choice. I got that one right on the first try. And so multiple choice is also an option. More hidden cards. I think that's the end. Okay, so, and there's other kinds of boom cards as well. Sometimes they make a picture. Sometimes they have to click and drag something from choices. Various kinds of things there. Okay, now that's all I'm going to say about homework, because I have so many kinds of activities that it would be very time consuming to continue that. But I have some escape rooms, some whodunits where they use the clues from figuring out the problems to solve a mystery, many other kinds of activities. So I actually do some cut and paste where they can do it on paper, or they can do it virtually, where they can physically click and drag the pieces instead of cutting them out of paper. But I usually give them a choice. And then I have some coloring pages where, like, you know, if the answer to number 3 is 4, you color it green. If the answer is 5, you color it blue. If the answer is 6, you color it purple. And you go through and you color them all in. And some of those are virtual and some of those are by hand. But like I said, various kinds of activities, and the idea there is to keep them engaged in what they're doing and to further the interest, and also to help guide them towards correct answers. Now, when I give quizzes and tests, those are more traditional. They do not know right away if their answers are right or wrong, and the idea is that during the homework learning phase, they are practicing and doing the self-correction, and when they get to a quiz or test, that's where they're demonstrating mastery, and those are graded by me and generally returned at a later time, as opposed to when you turn in homework, most of the time you'll know your grade already. Maybe not a percentage, but you know it's going to be a -1 or 2, because you can see how many are green and how many are red, or something like that. And so the quizzes and tests are, like I said, a bit more traditional. They might do it on paper and take a picture of it, or they might enter their answers on a Google form, and they'll still probably do it on paper to work it out, but then they'll enter their answer on a Google form. All right, I'm just going to look at my notes here and see if there's anything I've left out. I think I've pretty much covered everything. As far as Canvas accounts, let me say each student gets one account, and then parents do not get Canvas accounts. And if you do accidentally create one, it will be deleted, because it doesn't help you with your student. It just creates another student in my class, and then what that does is it's constantly reminding me I've got a student who's not doing work, and so that it's difficult on my end, and it doesn't help you with your child, so that gets deleted. What you will do, and I will send directions if you do enroll, under your students portal, you can add your email address to their account, so that any announcements, you can get notifications, and you can choose which notifications you want. So you can be notified every time there's an announcement in the class. You can be notified every time an assignment comes through, an assignment is graded, comments come through every time I send a message to your child, anything like that, so that there's no question. Further, you can access your child's portal anytime you want and get in there and see what's going on. And so that it really is the best way to do that. And the way you access their portal is you know their login and password. And again, all of that information, more specifics, how to do all of that, is sent once you've enrolled in a class and paid, and we're about 2 weeks away from class starting. So I don't send it out until I've got everyone enrolled, and then it goes out in a mass email. So you do want to add my email address to your contacts or your whitelist, so that my emails don't go to spam. However, if you do enroll and you're not receiving stuff from me, do check your spam and check that, because I sometimes do have parents who miss very important emails because it's going to spam or whatever. Because when I email many people at once, everyone in the course or whatever the case is, or everyone for the whole school year is getting the same kind of announcement. And so when you email, the more people you email at a time, the more likely your email provider is to flag it as spam. So just keep that in mind as well. All right, I think I'm going to stop there. I do want to say one more thing, and I should have said this at the beginning for those of you watching, and I'll put it in the info down below. But the $5.79 price did end on Friday. But since the video did not go up on Friday, for those of you wanting to watch, I am going to extend it to this coming Friday. So the deadline was the 14th. I'm going to make the deadline the 21st. And so any of you still looking for a discounted price, the discounted price will be $579, good until July 21st. After that, the price will be the full $700. Now, what do you get for that $579? Because some of you may say, that sounds like a lot of money. You are paying approximately $6 an hour for an actual teacher to be teaching your child math all school year long. And even though that's $6 per live hour, I do work many other hours in creating the curriculum, grading your child's work, responding to messages, all of that other stuff. So even though you're getting 96 live hours of instruction, and that's where I'm getting that $6 an hour figure, but most parents are getting far more than 96 hours of my time because of all of the things I do beyond the live teaching. And so I say that because I want you to know that I'm not trying to take you for a ride. I'm actually trying to give you your money's worth. And so you're paying approximately $6 per hour of live class. And then in addition to that, I'm doing all of the planning, all of the grading, and answering your questions, as well as creating the curriculum as well. Let's see. I think now one parent did ask me in the live if they signed up for, say, the Algebra 1 and 2 course that was the 3-year, that was the slower paced, and they felt like it was too easy, could they move up to the regular Algebra 1? And let me answer in general. If you sign up for a course from me and you feel like it's not the right placement, let's say you signed up for Algebra 1 and it's too hard and you want to go down to pre-algebra, or whatever the case may be, you may choose to switch classes. Here is the only thing I would be careful about. If you go from an easier class to a harder class, like a higher level, it is possible that we've started covering things that we didn't cover in the easier course you were in, and now you've missed it. So if you do wait a long time, or too much time before switching, you might find that your student might miss a skill. Like, let's say you wait a month. There's a whole month of teaching there of skills that we probably didn't cover in the easier class that have now been covered in the harder class. So be careful about that. It's going to be easier to move from a higher to a lower class than it is from a lower to a higher class. Now, that doesn't mean you can't do it. I do defer to parents' discretion on what class the child is in. Now, as far as what they should be in, again, at the beginning of class, I showed you the scope and sequence to know what I'm teaching in each class. And so I would encourage you to look at that so you have a good placement. I do have a placement test. And so if you would like that, I have 2 tests. One's a 6 to 8 placement test that will help gauge whether they're ready for my 6th grade, 7th grade, or pre-algebra class. And I have a second test that is an Algebra 1 readiness that tells if they're ready, if I think they can handle Algebra 1. If you would like either of those tests, just email me, Mrs. Peters at mrspetersmath.com, and I will send you the placement test. Let me know which one you want. And then what I do is when I get the results, I assess it, and then I email you my recommendations. So if you would like to do that before Friday, before the discounted price runs out, feel free to do that. Let's see. Placement test. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I need to tell you. If you do think of something I haven't brought up in class and you would like to know, just email me and I will be happy to answer your questions. All right, I think I'm going to stop there. You guys have a great week, and I will hopefully see you in the fall.